Hi friends, Keith here from North 40 Fly Shop. The fly I want to tie is kind of, there is a history, and I can get into a long drawn out detail about how it came about. The gentlemen who, or gentlemen's who kind of were the result of this fly, fishing a lake, doing really good. Their liquid refreshment, from my understanding, was running a little low. The other fishermen in the area weren't having too much luck, and some bartering occurred, and as such the name of the fly ended up being called the Six Pack, and I'm sure you can kind of figure out as to why. It's a yellow pheasant tail rump is what the material is. That's the feather, or excuse me, the hackle, the tail, and the body, all made out of the same type of feather. Very simple, and it was similar to a Carey Special, as some would say. The color that he used was a yellow that he had come up with himself. The exact formula, I'm not sure if it's even still around or if it's a guarded secret. I don't know. I do know that I've tied this fly with the available commercial dyed pheasant rumps and done real good with it. It's a color that works really good to imitate pheasant, or excuse me, a damsel fly, and just a soft hackle pattern. Usually when I fish it, it's either on a intermediate or maybe a type 2 sinking line in close to shore. It's done real good. So we'll get started with it in just a second. Okay, so that is the Six Pack. Before I get started, you can weight it if you want with a little bit of small diameter lead wire or lead-free wire. I don't. I know some people also will put a red glass bead for the head. I've done that and had some good results with that. I'm always partial, like on damsel flies, with having like red eyes on them, so it made sense. But this one we're going to show without it. So let's get started with this. Get that out of there. We're going to use a size 10 NU streamer hook. It's about 2x long. You can tie these all the way down to 12s, and I know some people did in 14s. A lot's going to depend on your pheasant rump feathers, or they'll tie them up to 12, or excuse me, 14s, 12s, 10s, and then a few 8s. So we're going to use for thread, we're going to use just some olive UTC in 70 denier. And we'll get that back to about, right about almost to the bend. So a couple things. So I've already kind of, when it comes to your pheasant tail rumps, when you're getting into your body material and your tail, you want to go through your pheasant rumps and pick the longest fibers that you can find, because you're going to need those in order to wrap around the shanks. But for the tail, you usually use about 10 or 12 fibers. So I just stripped those off of a piece that I had here. And again, you want that to kind of come out maybe about almost a hook shank length. Get that wrapped. And I'll run the fibers all the way up just to kind of keep the body uniformed. And then on the way back, we're going to use some gold wire, and this is small UTC gold wire. I'll put that in on this side and lash that in there. There we go. Get that out of my way. And oh, there it is. Okay, so I've already kind of pre-prepped this feather for body use. So I'm going to tie it in by the tips. And don't worry if a few, as you're wrapping this, you get a few wild ones that come out. We'll just go back through and clip it. And we're going to tie that in. Oh, actually I can Run a little bit longer on that. There we go. And just wrap that all the way forward. And I know some of that didn't get wrapped in there, but that's okay. Now, one of the things I will do sometimes, just to kind of make things a little easier and a little more durable, just a little bit of super glue on the body. Your thread wraps there. And we'll take our hackle pliers. And then we're going to twist this, and just be careful with doing this. You don't want to over twist it, you'll break it off. And the other thing we're going to do, lock that in, and I'm going to go ahead and use my rotary feature. And you can see where you're getting a few of those that are kind of a little longer, a little shorter, kind of sticking out, but that's okay. And we want to be right about there. One thing about pheasant rumps is that they're not all the same length on the hackle. Then we'll just get that all locked down in there. There we go. A couple more wraps. And then we'll come back in right now, and that's what we're going to do, is kind of trim off some of these wild ones. Okay, now we're just going to counter wrap with our gold wire, and you only need maybe 5 wraps or whatever works for you. Or 6. Oops. Don't like that. Let's do that over again. There we go. And we're just going to kind of helicopter that off. There we go. Then we are going to tie in our other part of our pheasant rump for the hackle, and sometimes, like I said, you got to go through and pick out the right one. Basically, you want it to kind of, the fibers to come back toward the tail or as long as the tail. So we're going to get that tied in. Don't worry about clipping off the excess there. I'm just going to drag that right down in there. And you only need a couple of wraps. You want to be a little gentle because that tip is, the fibers or the stem can be a little delicate. Yeah, there we go. Just kind of get that cleaned up a little bit and secured. Okay, there we go. We finish that off. And you can finish the head off with whatever head cement you like to use. I'm going to use a little bit of some balloon flow. Okay, that's just that easy. Really, once you kind of get used to tying it, it goes real fast, and you can crank out a dozen of these real fast, and you want to keep them in your box. Like I said, these old patterns sometimes don't need any alterations to them. They're just still a great producing fly, and this is one of them. So tie a few of these up for your box. Next time you're at the lake and there's a damselfly hatch going on, you'll be surprised at what your results will be, and might be chances you're not going to find too many people using this. Some of the old timers, not me, but some of the older people who've become accustomed to using these patterns, about the only ones that I ever see using them anymore. So something else to get. So we'll see you later.